Sean Spicer's got the big job. What is he in for?
Yeah, Sean Spicer does have a big job. I think it's going to be a challenge, in part for the kinds of reasons that he was just discussing there. I mean, Donald Trump has sort of revolutionized the way that presidential candidates have communicated, and he obviously did so in a very successful manner. He went around the mainstream media, he communicated directly to the American people, and he did it in such a way that allowed him to win the White House. I think the challenge as president is that your words matter so much more as president than they do as a candidate. I mean, the things that Donald Trump says on his Twitter feed can spark global conflicts that could trigger a trade war. And I think what you're likely to see is his communications team spending a lot of time, as they have had to in the past couple days, explaining what Donald Trump meant, sort of clarifying what he's said in his tweets and other posts.
Yeah, particularly on major issues like right now on nuclear power and where we go from there and what it could mean for the future.
Right.
And really, you touched on this clearly, that there's a big difference between a campaign and running the country. So what can we as the public expect as we're trying to figure out when a tweet comes out and then what the White House is saying?
Well, you know, it's very interesting. If you go back and you read Peggy Noonan's What I Saw at the Revolution, it was about her time as a speechwriter in the Reagan White House. And one of the key takeaways was that the speechwriters really had this power to make policy because what came out of the president's mouth ended up being the policy. So you had these policy scrambles before speeches where policymakers and aides were trying to get their language into these speeches so that it became policy. I think what you're likely to see under a Trump presidency is exactly the reverse, where Donald Trump goes and tweets something and says something in 140 characters, and then the policy teams all scramble to the communications aides to try to make sure that their version, that their clarification of what the president has just said is what becomes policy. And that's exactly what we're seeing in this debate over nuclear capability. I mean, Donald Trump had a tweet, said we need to expand our nuclear capability. His aides went out and said, no, he's not talking about an arms race. And then Donald Trump, in an interview this morning, said, let's have an arms race. So there is this disconnect, and I think it'll be helpful for the Trump presidency and for the world to have clarity in what they're getting from President Trump.
Yeah, and what you're saying is that we can see a pattern of this. So what does that mean for the press corps and how they communicate? You know, if it comes in one step and then there's another step and a walk back or something changes, how does the press corps handle that and clearly make sure that the American public understands what's happening?
Well, I think the press corps, I mean, it'll just change the way that we report on these things, right? I mean, we'll have to say Donald Trump tweeted this. We're awaiting further clarification of what exactly it means. We've already seen the press doing some of that on his on his tweets on trade, his tweets that he sent on Boeing, on Carrier before that, where he seems to be making policy. He's delving sort of deep into the weeds of policies, of these deals, and it's not at all clear what he's going to do because of what he said in 140 characters. And so I think the press will need to sort of step back and wait for this to unfold, which will be, I mean, it's a different challenge. You have this news cycle. We've talked many times about how the news cycle has been sped up, how it's a 24/7 news cycle. Now it's really an instant news cycle with social media. It's going to take some patience on the part of journalists to not jump to conclusions based on the latest tweet from the president. Those policies will take a while to sort of ripen.